Hi everyone, this is how to create a crochet tapestry and part 2 of making the tapestry. In part 1 we looked at creating the stitch fiddle graph, and now we're going to look at reading the graph, reading the written instructions and actually creating the tapestry. If you have not followed part 1 and created the stitch fiddle graph, that's okay. I'm going to put the link for the graph in the comments, and I'll also put it on my Instagram, Laksa Crochet. This is the finished graph, and some people like to use this to follow to create the crochet tapestry. I actually prefer to use the color block instructions. I find them much easier to follow. To create this tapestry, you're going to need some cotton yarn in black and white. I use the Four Seasons Flinders. You're going to need scissors, a darning needle, and a crochet hook. I used a 3.5. I've popped the colour block instructions up on the top left, and we're going to follow those to create this tapestry. The first thing you need to do is create a slip knot in your white wool and chain a foundation row of 26. This doesn't actually count as row 1, it's just your foundation chain. Once you have chained 26 and you get to the end, you're actually going to chain one more, and at the end of every row you'll chain one more and turn your work. Then you're going to work into the second chain and do a single crochet under that. And you're going to continue doing single crochets all the way down that chain. So you should have 26 single crochets by the time you get to the end. Sometimes I do find this first chain quite tricky, single crocheting underneath. It's quite fiddly, but if you just persist, it gets a lot easier the more rows you've done. So you're going to single crochet under the last stitch, and you're going to then count and make sure you have 26 single crochets in row 1. And once you've done that, you are just going to chain 1 and then turn your work to start on row 2. So row 2 tells us that we are working on the wrong side and we need 26 single crochets. So we're going to work into every single crochet from the previous row. So you should have 26 single crochets by the time you get to the end of row 2. So working into the last stitch, we're going to do our final single crochet of the round, which will be number 26. Once we've done that, we're just going to chain 1 and turn our work again. And so this is what it should look like with your 2 rows done. So row 3 is working on the right side, and again it asks us to do 26 single crochets in the white. So we're going to do the same and work back into each single crochet of row 2, and by the end of row 3 we'll have 26 single crochets. Again, make sure you count them just to make sure your stitch count is correct, otherwise your work will turn out wonky. So we're going to single crochet into that last stitch, and then we are going to do the same and chain 1 and turn our work, and that's row 3 completed. So row 4 will look a little bit different. We're working on the wrong side and we're doing 12 single crochets in white, 2 in black, and then 12 in white again. So we will be doing a color change. So start by doing 11 single crochets, and when you get to the 12th one I'm going to show you how to do the color change. On the 12th single crochet, you're going to insert your hook and pull through, and then you are going to pull your tail over the top of your work because we're working on the wrong side. Hold it with your thumb and get your black yarn, loop it over your finger, insert it onto the hook and pull through the 2 on your hook. Then you're going to pull the tail over to the front because we are working on the wrong side, and single crochet into the next stitch. So that will be 1 single crochet in black. Then we're going to scoop up the black yarn with our hook, and this will basically weave in the end for us. Then you're going to insert your hook into the next single crochet and keep your 2 loops on the hook. Pull your black over and hold it with your thumb. And then you're going to get your white strand, pick that back up. It is a bit fiddly, especially these first few color changes. And then you're just going to yarn over your white and pull it through the 2 black loops on your hook. Then we're going to do our 12 single crochets in white. So simply working back into each single crochet from the previous round until you get to the end. So last single crochet on the end stitch, and then you're going to chain one. You will turn your work in a moment. I'm just going to show you the wrong side, what it will look like now. So your tails will be hanging this side, and you can pull on them just to tighten them up, because sometimes when you do your color changes they do come a bit loose. Then you're going to turn your work, and we're going to start on row 5. Row 5 we are working on the right side, and we're doing 11 single crochets in white, 4 in black, and then 11 in white again. Single crocheting under each stitch of the previous row, and once you get to number 11 we're going to do our color change. Insert your hook and yarn over and pull through, and then your tail is going to go behind your work because we are working on the right side, so we don't want any tails at the front. Then pick up your black yarn and you're going to yarn over and pull that through your 2 loops on the hook. Then insert your hook into the next single crochet, which will be under the black stitch, yarn over and pull through, and you're going to complete your single crochet there. Then you're going to grab your white yarn tail because we're going to carry that behind the black. So insert your hook into the next stitch, and then you're just going to pull that white yarn tail over the top so it's sitting behind your 2 loops on the single crochet, and then complete your single crochet there. Going to do the same in the next stitch, holding that white tail, and then complete that single crochet. So on the 4th single crochet in black, you're just going to insert your hook and yarn over, pull through. Then you're going to hold your tail of black at the back and pick up your white yarn. I've got a bit of a tangle here. So you're going to pick up your white yarn and you're going to yarn over and pull through to finish that single crochet. Then you're going to insert into the next single crochet and continue along that row until you get to the end. And after the final single crochet of that row, you're going to chain 1 and you will turn your work again. I'll just show you what it looks like on the right side. So you'll have no tails on this side, they'll be on the back. And then turning your work, and this will be your wrong side you're working into for row 6. Row 6 we're looking at 10 single crochets in white, 6 in black and 10 in white again. So go along that row and do your single crochets until you get to number 10. Here we're going to do our colour change again, so insert your hook and yarn over. You're going to pull that white tail to the front because we are working on the wrong side, and pick up your black yarn. You're going to yarn over and pull through to complete that single crochet. Then you're going to insert your hook into the next stitch. I like to pick up the black yarn here, it looks a lot neater. And you're going to yarn over and pull through to complete that single crochet. Here I'm going to show you how to float the yarn. So insert your hook into the next single crochet, complete that one, and on the next single crochet you're going to scoop your white yarn up, insert into the single crochet, yarn over, and complete that single crochet with the white underneath it. This technique is floating the yarn, which helps the colour not to show through as much. So here you're not going to hold the white yarn, you're just going to do crochet number 5, and then on number 6 you're just going to keep your 2 loops on the hook, hold your black tail down at the front, and then you're going to pull through your white yarn under the 2 loops. Then here you're just going to continue along until you get to the end doing single crochets in white. And remember, it's quite important that you count your stitches just to make sure you've got the same amount that is in the colour block instruction. So to end row 6, you're going to chain 1, and we'll have a look at our work again. You can see where I've floated the yarn across here, and then you're just going to turn it. Then starting on row 7, so we're having 9 single crochets in white first, and on the 9th one we are going to do our colour change. And on the 9th single crochet, insert your hook, yarn over, pull through. Then you're going to hold your white tail at the back of your work, pick up your black tail, yarn over, and pull through the 2 on the hook. Insert your hook into the next single crochet, yarn over, and sometimes I like to just tug on the tail at the back to make sure it's nice and tight. and then I'm going to yarn over, pull through to finish that single crochet. So because I'm working on the right side of my work, I'm actually going to carry that white tail behind my work. So I'm going to insert my hook and have the white on top of my hook as well. And I'm going to carry that tail the whole way along, making sure you're keeping it behind the black single crochet so you won't be able to see it in the front of your work. So keep carrying that yarn tail until you get to your single crochet 8 in black. You can see I'm picking it up each single crochet. And single crochet number 8, you're just going to yarn over, pull through, hold your black tail at the back, and because you've carried the yarn through, your white tail will already be ready to go. Yarn over, pull through the 2 loops, and then you're going to continue with your single crochets till you have 9 and you reach the end of your row. And the final single crochet of row 7, then you're going to chain 1. And let's just have a look at the right side of our work. You can pull it out a bit and stretch it just to keep that tension good. And that's the wrong side. Then starting on row 8, which we're working on the wrong side, we're going to do our 8 single crochets in white. And on the 8th one, we will do our color change. Number 8, you're just going to insert your hook yarn over, pull your tail to the front and pull up your black tail. Then you're going to yarn over with your black, pull through and do your next single crochet. Make sure you keep that other bit of black yarn on the top as well. And after that single crochet, you're going to do another 2. So that's 1 and 2. Then you're actually going to pick up that white yarn on top of your hook, insert it into the next single crochet and finish that off because we're floating the yarn again because we're working on the wrong side. So it doesn't matter how many single crochets you do when you float the yarn. I like to keep it to 3 or 4 each time I scoop up the yarn with my single crochet. Just helps for the white yarn not to show through the black as much. And for single crochet in 10 in black, we're just going to do our color change. So insert your hook, yarn over, pull the tail to the front, get your white yarn tail, and you're going to yarn over, pull through. And then you're just going to continue along the end of row 8 with your 8 single crochets in white. So finishing row 8 with our single crochet, and then we're going to chain 1 and take a look at the wrong side of the work, and you can see where the yarn has floated through. So here we're going to turn our work again and we're going to start working into row 9. Row 9 we are doing 7 in white, 12 in black and 7 in white again. So we're going to go to single crochet number 7 where we do our color change. So inserting the hook, having your 2 on the hook, holding the tail down at the back, grabbing your black yarn and yarning over and pulling through. Then we're going to do our next single crochet. There we go, yarn over, finish that single crochet. Now on the next one we're going to pick up the white yarn and we're going to insert our hook through the next single crochet and make sure that white yarn is on the hook as well. Pull through and finish off that single crochet. So for all of our black stitches here, we're going to carry the white yarn at the back of our work. So you can see the white yarn there on top of the hook. So continue to do that across for your 12 single crochets in black. And once you get to single crochet number 12, you're going to do your color change to white. And once you've done that color change, you're just going to continue doing your 7 single crochets in white until you get to the end of the row. So finishing off the row with your single crochet, chain 1, having a look at our work, that's the right side, and then we're going to turn our work and our wrong side will look like that. So if you go ahead and do row 10, and I'll meet you back on row 11 where I'm going to show you a different way to change colours. So for row 11, this colour change method, you're going to need another little ball of white yarn. So you can just wind that around your hand and create your own from the skein you have. And then you are going to simply do 5 single crochets in white to start row 11. And when you get to the 5th single crochet, you're just going to hold your yarn tail behind, and then you're going to pick up your black tail, pull that through, and then you're going to continue on with your black single crochets, and you're not going to carry the yarn with you this time. You're just going to leave it sitting behind. So 16 single crochets in black across, and when you get to number 16 I'll show you how to do the color change there. So at number 16 you're going to insert your hook, pull through, then you're going to hold your black tail at the back, and with the other bobbin you've created you're going to pick up your yarn, slide it over the hook, slide it over the hook and pull through your 2 on the hook, and then you're going to insert your hook into the next single crochet, holding the tail behind on top of the hook, yarn over, pull through. You're going to insert into the next single crochet, make sure that yarn tail is on top of the hook, because this is actually weaving in the end for us, so we don't have to do it. And another single crochet holding that yarn. Now you can push the yarn tail out of the way and continue with your last 2 single crochets to end the row. And then chaining 1, having a look at your work on the right side, and if we turn it over onto the wrong side you will now have 2 yarn tails in white. So working on row 12 we're going to do our 4 single crochets in white, and when we get to the color change at number 4 we're going to do the same, where we insert our hook, have 2 on the hook, pull over your yarn tail, scoop up your black yarn and yarn over, pull through the 2 loops on the hook, insert into the next single crochet. It's a bit tricky to get on there. There we go. Yarn over to finish your single crochet, and then you're going to go ahead and do 18 single crochets in black, and you don't need to worry about carrying the yarn because you can pick up your other yarn tail in white on the other side. And on the 18th single crochet in black, you're going to insert your hook, yarn over, hold the tail at the front of your work, then you're going to pick up your white tail and you're going to do your 4 single crochets to end this row. And as usual at the end of the row, chain 1, you can have a look at your work here, make sure everything's tight, and then you're going to turn your work and start on row 13. So row 13 you're just going to do 3 single crochets in white, and on single crochet number 3 you're going to do your color change to black, and the same as the last row we're just going to insert our hook, pull through 2 on the hook, hold your tail, pick up your black tail, yarn over, pull through, and then you're going to do your 20 single crochets in black. Again, we don't need to carry any yarn with us because we can just pick up our white on the other side when we get there. So to color change, inserting your hook, yarning over, pulling through, holding your tail, picking up your white tail, yarning over, pulling through, and then doing your 3 single crochets in white to end round 13. So chaining 1, and that's our work on the right side, and we're going to turn our work and starting on round 14 with 2 single crochets in white, and on the second one doing our color change to black, so pulling the tail to the front and looping over your black, and then inserting into the next single crochet and doing 22 single crochets in black until you reach the other side. So doing our color change here, to our white yarn. So yarning over, pulling through and doing our 2 single crochets. So we're going to finish off row 14 with a chain 1, and that's the wrong side of our work. Turn our work, and to work rounds 15 to 19 we're going to do them the exact same way, and I'll meet you back at round 20 and we'll have a look at the colour changes there. So this is what we should look like at the end of row 19. We should have chained 1 and turned our work, and we're going to start on row 20. So row 20 we need to do 3 single crochets in white, and then we are going to change colour to black. So pulling our yarn tail to the front because we're working on the wrong side, yarning over with our black and inserting into the next single crochet. We're actually going to float our yarn here, so we're going to do 1, 2 single crochets, and on the third one pick up that white yarn tail and do a single crochet there. Then we're going to do 3 more single crochets, so 1, 2 and 3, and again we're going to scoop up that yarn tail to float the yarn, and we're going to do 1 and 2. So then we'll have 9 single crochets in black. Pull your yarn tail down, scoop up your white, yarn over, pull through, and then you're going to do your 2 single crochets in white, so that's 1, and on number 2 you're going to colour change again, so pulling down your white yarn tail, scooping your black up and yarning over, pull through, and then we're going to do our 9 single crochets in black, and again we're going to float the yarn here, so 1, 2, 3, and scooping up the yarn, floating it through here. So we're going to do 1, 2, 3, scooping our yarn up and finishing off our black single crochets. So we have 9 in total. And then colour changing here to our white, and we're going to do our final 3 white single crochets for this row. And there we go, a bit tricky there, and ending our row with our chain 1, having a look at our work, and you can see we floated the yarn through there, and then we're going to turn our work. Row 21 we're going to start off with 4 single crochets in white, and then on our 4th single crochet in white we're going to hold the white yarn behind, pick up the black, and we're going to do 6 single crochets in black, so 1, then we're going to pick up that white tail and we're going to carry that yarn behind, and 2, and continue across until we get to 6. So on number 6, insert your hook and yarn over and hold the black tail behind, and you're going to pick up your white tail and yarn over, pull through, and you're going to do 6 single crochets in white. So you're going to pick up the black tail now and you're going to carry that through, holding it at the back. So that's 1, 2, making sure you've got that black over your hook, and continue along until you've got 6 white single crochets. So inserting your hook, yarning over, holding the white tail behind, scooping up the black that you've carried through, yarn over, pull through, and doing 6 single crochets in black, and you're going to make sure you're carrying the white yarn behind with the black. So inserting your hook, making sure the white yarn is on top of the hook, and continuing with your black single crochets. And then you're going to colour change here, so grabbing your white yarn, yarning over, pulling through and doing your remaining 4 white single crochets. And ending with the chain 1, have a look at your work here. And then you can turn your work and you're working row 22 on the wrong side, and this is the easy part where we're just doing our 26 white single crochets. Now here you can actually snip off the black yarn because you're not using that anymore. It would just help with the tangles. So as I said, row 22 is just 26 single crochets across the row. Again, make sure you count them just to make sure your stitch count is still correct. And at the end of row 22, chaining 1, and we're going to have a look at our work and turn our work, and we're going to start row 23, and that's just 26 single crochets across, and you're going to do the exact same for row 24, and I'll meet you at the end. So ending the final row with a chain 1, and that is the right side of our work completed. And if we look at the wrong side of the work, you can actually see how much neater it is when we cut off the yarn and then reconnect it on the other side. And that is our square completed. Now the most annoying part of sewing in the ends. This one's actually not too bad because there's only a couple of ends to sew in. I like to sew this bottom one in because it only got crocheted over once, and these corner ones need sewing in because they do have a tendency to come loose if you don't. So just threading them under some of the other yarn and then snipping off all your other ends, and just making sure you leave the top corner where you finished in connected. And there you go, it's all finished for now.